and welcome to Horror Rewind. This is Kelly Florence.
And this is my cough doll.
And today we're talking about Lisey's story. How are you, Meg?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's July, and so we're in the thick of it, in the summer, that is. And this lovely show premiered not long ago, and it has been a treat.
Yes, I feel like it used to be summer meant no good television. Like that was when the crappy television was. But I like the way it works now where there's just good television all year round.
Yeah, I love it. And now this, I think this was supposed to come out earlier, but because of the pandemic, shooting got pushed. But I'm glad that we got it and we get to watch it now. Mm-hmm. I know that you read the book and you loved it, and then you got to write about it in our book, The Science of Stephen King. So do you want to tell everybody your personal journey with this?
Sure. So the book came out in 2006, but I didn't read it until about 3 years ago. On summer break, I was like, okay, it's one of those last Stephen King books I haven't read. And the reason being is it's a really polarizing book. People seem to love it or hate it. There's not a lot of middle ground. And a lot of people don't like it. And
why don't people like it? What is
Well, I think that it's quite different than a lot of Stephen King's novels. It's a little slower paced. It's really, really deep inside their relationship. It's about marriage. It's about grief. It's about it's a little more subtly nuanced, and I can see that some people wouldn't necessarily enjoy that if they are really looking for scares, if they want a Pet Cemetery, and I'm sure you've noticed in the show it's a little more fantasy than horror, but I'm fine with that, and I love when he writes older female characters.
Yeah.
And Lisey in the story, just like Julianne Moore, is maybe mid to late 50s, and so unfortunately you don't get a lot of that. And so I read the book, I absolutely loved it, I couldn't stop reading it, and then I got to write a chapter on it for The Science of Stephen King.
Now, what were the sciences that you explored in this chapter?
Well, I think the big thing I wanted to get into is how grief can actually change your brain, and how grief can affect your life on many different levels. And so I actually talked to a grief counselor and interviewed for the chapter. So that was really moving for me, and as well as just learning science, it's also just the human condition and something we all go through. And so I kind of really had a good time connecting those two things.
Amazing. I also appreciate, and I assume this was in the book, all of the female characters and relationships and this complicated ordeal of having to care for a sibling who maybe is not well.
Yeah. And she's got, that's, so right off the bat, what I'd say is that the TV show, I feel, is quite close to the novel. And the situation with Lisey and her two sisters, and the one having issues, and she's dealing with that while she's also just going through this mind-numbing grief of still, even it's been 2 years or something that her husband's been gone, but Stephen King wrote it from the place of being married for decades, and what is life going to be like. And obviously you can see how the character that Clive Owen plays is very much a Stephen King-like character, in that he's a famous writer, and she's sort of left to pick up the pieces after he dies.
Now, I know it's not autobiographical, but his wife Tabitha, she's a writer in her own respect. But it's interesting to me in the story, thinking about how you might be defined by your spouse and what they did for a living, or who they were, and how even if you are an accomplished person in your own right, your own job, how they're someone could overshadow you. And I think that's a fascinating thing to think about and explore.
Yeah, and that comes up a lot in her interactions in the novel, but also the show with her and the character played by Dane DeHaan. Is that how you say his name? I don't know. Where he's reminding her, like, you just slept in the bed with him, like, he was, and it's like, no, that's not, she's her own person with her own life. And so yeah, I think that's really fascinating, and it's something that the kings, they have tried to battle. And I know there have been certain headlines where it says, like, Stephen King and his wife, or it's like novelist Stephen King,
or Stephen King's wife did this.
Yeah.
It's like, her name is Tabitha.
Yeah, exactly. So they've actually pointed that out, Tabitha and Stephen. And so I think that's really cool because, Jesus, it's 2021.
Yeah. And that's why I appreciate, so speaking of that, there have been headlines. It's like, I can't think of her name now, but George Clooney's wife.
Oh, God. Yeah. Amal.
Yeah. And she is an attorney.
Oh, my God. She's, like, really
accomplished.
Big deal.
And so I like when they flip the narrative. It's like, Amal so-and-so's husband did this. It's like, don't name drop him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so anyway, I think that's another interesting aspect to this. But I don't know about you, but I'm just loving the visuals of this.
Oh, my God. So
good.
Beautiful.
And I tweeted, I said, like, the way I pictured Booyah Moon is exactly how they did it. And that never happens. Like,
so, yeah, it's got to be art direction and cinematography, all those things. Effing gorgeous.
It's just beautiful. Like, I can't get over how I feel like they plucked it out of my brain, because that's exactly how I saw Booyah Moon. And I love this concept in the novel and obviously in the show of he goes to this place to get away from his abusive father, but also it's like where his imagination grows from, and she needs to go there.
Now tell me, as a writer of fiction, how do you get into a fictional world? Like when you created Willoughby, for example, from your books and novels, Her Dark Inheritance series, how did you start? How did you create the world?
Ooh. Well, for me, I think it starts with characters, but then I had a real place that I was like basing it on. So in Willoughby, I thought about the real town that I based it on, and I used some of the same, so that there's a, the same restaurant,
like a geographical,
right, so I can see it. But then I start adding my flourishes to it. I added the library, I added where the motel was, all those kind of things. So it's like, and then it kind of grows and grows. It's like WandaVision, where she's like creating this world, and it's like, and then it gets bigger, right? It's like you kind of she starts in WandaVision with that maybe central house, and then it like expands. And I guess that's kind of how it goes for me. Like it kind of just grows, and then you start bringing characters back and seeing what those side characters are doing. And like, to me, I had to start with some framework of reality, but like I know some people can create a science fiction type world, and that's just, I don't think that's my particular thing that I can do well. But I think if I can start from reality and then go off into wackiness, then that's what works for me.
I think it's fascinating to hear different artists and creators and learn about their process. For example, I used to have a former dance teacher, and how she would choreograph is she would stay up way too late, and she didn't use the word hallucinate, but she would stay up so late that a dancer would appear to her, and she would watch, and she'd put the music on, and she'd watch what the dancer did and then write down what she did. And that's how she choreographed all of her dances. And then I've also heard composers say they write the lyrics first and then come up with the music, and other people say, no, I write the music first and then come up with the lyrics. It's like, what comes first, chicken or the egg? And like, what inspires you? And do some people go into that world and disassociate? Like, what is the process? How do you have that happen?
And I do like that idea of, there is, I think, a disassociation, and that's what Stephen King's talking about, is that idea of like, you do have to like go down into that world, or up into that world, or sideways, however you want to go. I always say down because I write horror, so it's always kind of deep and creepy down there. But I like the idea of the muse, and like that dance teacher had that muse, and like for me, I had this little town in Minnesota as my muse, and so it's kind of, everyone's different. And that's why, even though there's been more than a million stories told, books written, you can write your own and it's completely different, even though it might have similar plot points, you know?
Yeah. And I think, too, it's like you can take a creative writing class or you can take a script writing class. You might learn better technique, but how you start and how you get into that world is completely unique to the individual.
Yes. Oh, my gosh.
So it's not...
like, I like this.
I know. And yes, I like hearing from other creators and
So how about you?
People. So the way that I choreograph, speaking of choreography, I put on the music and I let it physically move me, like what makes sense for this, and then just go back and refine. Mm-hmm. Writing wise, though, it's always just starts with an idea, and I'm more of a plotter than you are, and you're more of a pantser, right?
Yeah, I would say I just like to do what feels right in the moment and what excites me in the moment.
Oh, listen, just like last week, there's a train going through. Isn't this exciting? Hello, tourists.
What if it's like a train from... What are some train horror movies?
Well, there's a train in the Dark Tower series.
There is. I was thinking Midnight Meat Train. There must be some I was gonna say there must be some zombie train. I just rewatched it.
Train to Busan.
Yeah,
wasn't it good when you rewatched it?
Oh my god, I love that movie. Yes,
so good. But yes, so maybe there were zombies on that train.
Maybe there were.
I hope not.
No, I hope not either. Lisey's story, Julianne Moore is amazing, obviously. What I am enjoying in this adaptation is I didn't feel in the novel we got to see Dean DeHaan's character as much. So I'm liking kind of seeing him off in his own world, like creeping people out. We didn't really see that much that I remember anyway. So I feel like his role's expanded a little bit. But I was like, how are they going to turn this into a show? Because, which I say all the time, and then, it happens and people do a great job. But it's there's a lot of time jumping. And one thing choice that they decided to make, in the book, they've been together forever. They've been together since, beginning of college. But in the TV series, they showed them getting married, as themselves. They didn't have, younger versions of them getting married, which I found interesting because it's so they never really define how long they've been together, but obviously we are not going to believe that Julianne Moore and Clive Owen are 20 in that scene. Right. So they just kind of were we're not going to recast them as younger people,
I appreciate
which I think
that.
is good. Yeah. Sometimes you just have to make choices like that when it goes to the screen.
I think too, I appreciate just seeing older people married in a movie.
And also want to have sex with each other and just have a relationship.
And and it's not I don't know.
And they don't have kids, so it's not about them
right.
dealing with that. So I'm very excited now that they've shown Booyah Moon and the tall boy, and we're gonna get into more of it. I'm very excited as the weeks go by because it's not done yet.
Right. And so we won't obviously give any spoilers for the ending because it has not ended. It is on Apple Plus, and speaking of that, I want to recommend something else that's on Apple Plus. Go watch Mythic Quest.
Yes,
Meg?
you meant...
Just kidding.
I feel like this is specifically for me. Did you shut the microphone off now?
We're not recording. I actually haven't been recording this entire time. This is just my intervention.
I know, you told me. I hadn't even heard of this show, but then you said Danny Pudi from Community's in it, and I was like, well, okay, I'll watch it. And then you said that Luke might like it. Yeah, it's fun. It's about a gaming company, and they actually ended up filming part of it, much of it during the pandemic, and they bring it in, but it's well done. I promise. It's not gonna bum me out. No, it's freaking hilarious. I would say it's akin to the Parks and Rec thing because everybody gets to be their own personality, and when you know that they filmed it on their own, it's I love all of these people. I love them. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm excited to watch. It's 30-minute comedy tape. Yep. Okay, I'm excited for that. And it's diverse, it's feminist, it's hilarious, and it's about video gaming, right? They're a video gaming company. So that will get Luke to watch. Yeah, no, it's very good. So I just had to put that plug in there since we were talking about Apple Plus. Well, and I love Dickinson. Oh my God, yes. There, and Servant. We've already
Season 3,
talked about
I
that.
think, just wrapped filming.
Oh yes, that's right. Oh my god, I love that show.
So
They're killing it with the shows.
They are.
They've got good content. They're gonna make me keep being subscribed to
heck
them.
yeah, it's not even that expensive. So
No.
in the whole scheme of things. So let's rank. Should we rank Lisey's story up to this point, or should we
No.
not rank it?
That's kind of difficult.
I don't
Maybe
think-
we should in a future episode.
Yeah, we'll come back and rank it.
Mention it
Because
rank
I
it.
feel like
We
it's
gotta
like watching
see-
half a movie or something.
Right, we got to see the rest play out. But so far, I have to say though, it's definitely one of my most favorite recent adaptations because I feel like it's very close.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're evoking the feelings and the emotions that I felt while reading the book. And the acting is excellent, and Stephen King, I guess, had his hand in it, which isn't always great, but it's working out here.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really good adaptation so far.
Now, not that he needs any plugs or advertising, but when is his next book coming out, and what is it?
So Billy Summers, it's called, is coming out August 2nd, and I'm very, very excited, obviously. It sounds like it's a little more, I don't know. The truth is, I'm kind of one of those people who, I don't seek out movie trailers very much, and I try not to read. Like, when we watched Caveat, for example, I had literally no idea what it was about, and I think that made it better.
Yeah.
So I don't know much about it. I believe it's about a hitman who has to do one last hit. So I think it kind of made me think when I read the little description about it is maybe kind of like his End of Watch series where it's a little more crime-ish.
Okay.
But I don't know. But I'm gonna buy it immediately.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously.
And the
we gotta
cover's
do it.
pretty cool.
It is.
Yeah.
And quick, also ask, are there any books that listeners might not have heard of that you've read recently that you recommend?
Okay, yes. So I recently have read, in one weekend, I read a huge, thick book called The Missing by Sarah Langan. Oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. She's got very much a Stephen King sensibility, but she writes from such a, poetic level too. But the book came out in 2007, I think. And it's somewhat of a sequel, not really, it's kind of in the same universe as her first book, The Keeper. And I read her book, Good Neighbors, earlier this year, and that was excellent. But The Missing is very horror, and I think it makes me think of Stephen King because it's all these different characters in a town, and the shit's going down, and you would love it. And I read a wonderful collection by Haley Piper called Unfortunate Elements of My Anatomy, and it is very fantastical. If you like Lisey's story, I think you would like this book collection because it's horror, but it has a lot of fantasy to it too, and it's short stories. And she has a way of describing. Not only does she have a lot of queer characters, but she is trans, and she has characters who are trans, and she has a way of describing it that I've never, thought about before, or, I just felt I, learned, as well as, was thrilled and everything. And I could go on and on, but I finally read Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker.
Yeah.
So that was really good. I recommend have you read that?
No, so...
Yeah. It was a quick read. It was really quick. And now I'm I need to watch all the Hellraiser movies. And then I asked on Twitter, and I got lots of opinions.
Okay. Now, I have been borrowing our friend Nate's Junji Ito collection, and I just saw that he adapted The Lighthouse into a manga.
Heard that. Yeah.
So, I recommend that.
So is Nate gonna buy it, and then you're gonna borrow it?
Yeah. See, this is. I have friends who buy things, and I can borrow them, and
Yes.
people can borrow things from me too.
Oh, okay,
so,
that's nice.
it goes both ways. But
Yes.
yeah, so I just love it, and the visuals of this horrific world that he imagines. Speaking of creators and how they create, where do these monsters come from?
Wow.
How does his brain work?
I gotta read these.
Yeah, they're very good.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. All right.
Okay, we're not going to rank anything.
No.
But we want to hear from you. Tell us what you recommend. Also, if you're a creator, add us and tell us how you create. Do you have a muse? Do you go into a place like Booyah Moon? What do you do? what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, if you know a way into Booyah Moon, I wouldn't mind just a little, tiny little teensy trick.
Someone's like, here's some mushrooms.
Yeah.
I mean, Meg, be careful what you wish for.
I know, exactly. And we haven't seen the end of Lisey's story, so.
Okay, until next time, we'll see you in the horror section.
Bye.